2, 1. Welcome back to Bites of Pi. Today's lab Kickstarter is going to go over Lab6h, sorting objects. In this lab, we're going to cover the insertion sort and how we can use go beyond just integers and string integers to go to using the comparable object. Using the comparable object, we can use the same code to sort integers, strings, and even salespersons, a custom object like salesperson, using the same code. So let's go through it. Essentially, this lab is going to be very short because we don't have to do very much, but it does help you get a handle on how the insertion sort works. We're already given two runner classes, run sorter, run weekly sales, sorting 6h, and salesperson 6h. The first thing we're going to be doing is modifying the sorting to change insertion sort from ascending order to descending order. So that kind of gets into how this thing works. And I'm going to cut to the demo of how that works. In order to test the insertion sort, I set up a little demo program, and we're going to step through the insertion sort as it was given to you. Now, if you want to see this visually, check out the video online for insertion sort. Right now, let's run through it. All right, so here we are at the beginning of the loop. What we're going to do with this Excel program is we're going to step through, and you're going to be able to do this, be able to capture every time we pass through the loop, what does the array look like at the end. So let's start off with the key and position. We see that key, we're starting off at position 1. We're pulling the key at position 1, which is 2, and the position is 1, so we'll keep track of that here. Let's copy the array and we'll modify it as it changes for the first time. Alright, so we'll check. So is position is 1, it's greater than 0, yes. And now I have this key position 0 and compared to the current position, so I'm tracking, is 2 less than 7? It is. I notice that I get a -1. So I'm going to go into this while loop and I'm going to move the 7 up. So let's take a look at this is what the array looks like. I'm going to move the 7 up here because 2 is less than 7. Alright, I've done that. I decrement position. So let's keep track of that over here. Position is 0. I've moved up to 7. Alright, and now I'm going through it again. 0 is not greater than 0, so I skip out of the loop, and I'm now going to put my key back into where my pointer is, which is right here at position 0. So I've now just swapped 2 and 7. Done. So I'm at the top of the loop. This is what it looks like the first time through the loop. I'm going to highlight that here and go on to the next one. So now I have new key and position. The key is 4. The position is 2. So I'm looking at this point right here, position 2. The value is 4. I copy off 4, and now I do a compare. Is 4 less than 7? It is. So I'm going to go into the loop, and I'm going to move 7 on top of 4. Now remember, I've held off 4. I'm just shifting it over 1. My pointer goes back to this position, and now I do a compare. Is 4 less than 2? It is not, so I'm done. I skip out of the loop, and then I copy 4 into this position here, and I'm done through the loop. So that finishes that part of the loop. So the second time through the loop, that's what it looks like. Now this should be the last time through the loop. I'm going through. I have a new key in position. I'm now looking at 3 and 3. Alright. And now I compare, is 3 less than 7? It is, so 7 moves over. We'll watch that, 7 moving over. Again, you see 7 moving over. Go up to the top, is 3, now I compare, is 3 less than 4? It is, so now I'm going to shift the 4 over. It'll look like this. Taking a look over here, you see that 4 shifts over. And now I check to see, is 3 less than 2? 3 is not less than 2, so I skip out of my loop here, and I copy 3 down to where I'm pointing at. And that finishes the loop. I've gone through, I'm at the end of the index. This is my final value. Now that we've seen that demo, we can look at how do we need to modify this to change it from going from smallest to largest to go from largest to smallest. We could do the exact same things, but you notice that we're shifting the larger values to the right, as we saw in the demo. If what we held off in the key is smaller than what we have, then we shift the larger value over. Now we probably want to change that so that we shift the smaller things over. Instead of shifting larger values, we probably want to shift smaller values. So the key to that is somewhere in here. So you have to figure out how to modify this portion of the while loop to make the smaller values shift to the right rather than the larger values. And I'll let you dig into that. The second part of this lab is the Salesperson object. Essentially, we're going to be using. Notice when we did this, we're using if we use the insertion sort, we're using the compare to object to determine whether a value is larger or smaller. So if we go to Salesperson object, we're going to need to. We've actually kind of given you the logic, and you have to fill in the blanks. So essentially, what we want to do is we want to complete the compare to object, where the comparison should be made based on total sales. So a salesperson has a last name, a first name, and how much sales they have. So if I have an array of these salespeople, I need to compare first by how much their sales is. So that's what we're doing here. So if I'm using the compare to object, I'm comparing this person to another person, and I say this sales is if this sales is greater than the other sales, I want to return a positive 1, saying that I know this current object is greater than the object I passed in. Otherwise, and I'm going to let you fill in this blank, if it's less than, I want to return a negative 1, because I want to say that this is less than the other one. However, what happens if they are both equals? Well, we need to handle that in here, and that's what this logic is for. I need to compare the last name. If the last name does not equal the first name, I can compare the last name. Otherwise, I need to compare the first name, and I'm going to return that. So I'll let you fill in the blanks here. Lastly, we're going to need to modify the run sorter to make sure that we can test both of our items. Here, we need to change the run sorter. It was selection sort in this code. We need to change it to insertion sort. And let's run that to see what that looks like, to see if it works. How many integers do I want to sort? Let's say, according to our demo down here, we want to do 7. And I'll paste those numbers in here. How many words do I want to sort? 5. And sure enough, now they're sorted in descending order, going from largest to smallest, and from Z to A instead of A to Z. So I know that whatever I did worked. And that's how you can validate your answers. Now, notice how this is before. Actually, this should be before insertion sort, because it's going from A to Z. We want it to go. If you want it to work, it has to go from Z to A and from largest to smallest. Okay. And secondly, we're going to run the weekly sales, so make sure that this salesperson thing works. If you filled in the blanks correctly, if I just run this, it should look something like this, where it goes from largest to smallest based on sales. Now when I get to this point, I have a whole bunch of salespeople that have $3,000 worth of sales, but I notice black is first, B comes before J. Now both of these guys have the same last name, Jones, but J-A-M comes before J-A-N, and then finally Smith comes after Jones, and so on. So we know that this is sorted in the right order if it looks something like this. This concludes Kickstarter 6H. Good luck.